Randy Travis had everything: the voice, the respect, the career most country artists never reach. Then, one day, he stepped away. No long explanations, no emotional interviews, just silence. Fans were left confused. The industry whispered. And the headlines only showed part of the story. Because Randy Travis didn't walk away from the spotlight by accident. It wasn't sudden, and it definitely wasn't simple. Behind the fame was pressure. Behind the image was a life slowly falling apart, and behind his silence, that was a truth most people never understood. But listen to this. What pushed Randy Travis out of the spotlight was building for years, and once it finally surfaced, there was no going back. Before the fall, there was the rise. In the mid-1980s, country music was drifting away from its roots. Pop sounds were taking over. Tradition was fading. Then Randy Travis appeared. A deep voice. Old-school lyrics. Songs that sounded honest, almost timeless. He didn't just succeed, he changed the direction of country music. Almost overnight, Randy became the symbol of everything fans missed. Authentic, grounded, reliable. Labels trusted him. Audiences adored him. And the industry treated him like its savior. But here's what most people didn't see. That image came with impossible expectations. Randy wasn't allowed to fail, wasn't allowed to struggle, wasn't allowed to be human. Every album had to hit. Every show had to be perfect. Every mistake felt unforgivable. And while fans saw confidence inside, pressure was quietly building. Success arrived faster than stability. Fame arrived before emotional balance. But that's not all. Because the more Randy was praised as the perfect country star, the less room he had to deal with the parts of himself that didn't fit that image. And those parts didn't disappear, they waited. And the longer they were ignored, the more dangerous they became. Because what looked like control on the outside was slowly turning into something else. And that's when the cracks started to show. As Randy Travis's fame exploded, so did the pressure to stay perfect. Everywhere he went, people expected the same man. The calm voice, the steady presence, the flawless image. But real life doesn't work that way. Behind closed doors, Randy was exhausted. The schedule never slowed down. Tours blended into recordings blurred into expectations. There was no space to breathe, no room to break, no permission to admit weakness, and listen to this. The more successful he became, the more trapped he felt. Randy wasn't just performing on stage. He was performing all the time. Fans wanted the legend, the industry wanted consistency, and the public wanted certainty. But certainty is fragile. Small cracks began to form, mood shifts, impulsive decisions. Moments people quietly dismissed. Those closest to him noticed the change. The discipline was still there, but it felt forced. The calm felt rehearsed. And that's when pressure started turning into something darker. Because when someone spends years holding everything together, eventually something slips. But that's not all. Instead of slowing down, Randy pushed harder. Instead of asking for help, he withdrew. And that decision, to carry everything alone, would lead him straight toward a moment no one could ignore. Because the warning signs weren't subtle anymore. They were just being ignored. And what happened next didn't stay private for long. For a long time, Randy Travis believed discipline was enough. If he stayed focused, if he stayed busy, if he stayed silent, everything would hold together. But that control was starting to crack. Behind the scenes, Randy's behavior began to change. Nothing explosive at first, just subtle shifts people didn't want to question. Missed moments. Questionable decisions. A growing distance from the people trying to help him. And listen to this. The more pressure he felt, the more unpredictable things became. Randy wasn't trying to self-destruct. He was trying to escape. Escape expectations. Escape the image. Escape the version of himself the world demanded every single day. But escape doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks quiet, confusing, out of character. Those closest to him sensed something was wrong, but no one wanted to be the one to say it out loud. Because admitting a legend is struggling means admitting the system around him is broken too. And that's where everything started to spiral. Instead of slowing down, Randy pushed through. Instead of grounding himself, he drifted further away. The warning signs were there, clearer than ever. But they were ignored, minimized, explained away. And that was the most dangerous part. Because once control turns into denial, the fall isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. And for Randy Travis, that moment was getting closer than anyone realized. And when it finally arrived, it would play out in front of the entire world. What Randy Travis feared most finally happened. The struggle didn't stay behind closed doors anymore. It spilled out in public, in ways no one could ignore. Headlines exploded overnight. Fans were shocked. The industry froze. This wasn't a quiet mistake. This was a public collapse. Accusations surfaced, footage spread, and the image of country music's most reliable voice began to crack in front of millions. For the first time, Randy wasn't being praised. He was being questioned. And listen to this. The silence he relied on for years stopped protecting him. Every move was dissected, every decision judged, every past moment reinterpreted. Some rushed to defend him, others turned away instantly. But the damage was done. Because once the public sees a legend fall, they stop listening to explanations, and Randy didn't offer any. No emotional apology tour. No interviews trying to control the narrative. Just withdrawal. The man who once filled arenas now avoided cameras, and that sudden shift left fans asking one painful question. How did it get this bad? But that's not all. Because the public collapse wasn't the end of Randy Travis's story. It was the moment that forced everything to stop. And what followed was far more serious than embarrassment. It was a fight he never expected to face. After the headlines faded, something worse began. Silence. Randy Travis disappeared from public view almost completely. No tours, no interviews, no explanations. The noise stopped, but the consequences didn't. Behind the scenes, his life was unraveling in ways few people understood. The pressure, the isolation, the weight of public judgment, all of it hit at once. And this time, there was no stage to escape to. Friends worried, fans waited. The industry moved on. And listen to this. That silence wasn't peace, it was survival. Randy was forced to confront everything he had spent years avoiding. The expectations, the identity, the version of himself built for everyone else. Without the spotlight, there was nothing left to hide behind. And then came the moment that changed everything. A serious health crisis struck, sudden and terrifying. One that left doctors uncertain and the future unclear. For a while, it wasn't even clear if Randy would ever return to the life he once knew. For the first time, fame didn't matter. Reputation didn't matter. Music didn't matter. Only survival did. And in that moment, everything was stripped away. The legend, the image, the pressure. What remained was just a man facing the consequences of years lived at the edge. But that wasn't the end. Because surviving something like that doesn't just change your body. It changes how you see the world. And what came next redefined what Randy Travis's life would become. After the health crisis, Randy Travis didn't return as the same man. The spotlight was still there, the fans were still there, but his life had changed in a way fame could never fix. For a long time, Randy had been known for one thing above all else, his voice. And now, that voice, the thing that carried him to the top, wasn't something he could rely on the same way. The world that once demanded perfection now watched quietly, unsure of what to expect. But listen to this. Randy didn't try to fake a comeback. He didn't chase attention. He didn't manufacture a new image. Instead, he chose something rarer. Dignity. He appeared only when it mattered. He let the music speak when words were hard. And in those moments, fans saw a different kind of strength around, not the strength of a star, but the strength of a survivor. Because the truth is, Randy Travis didn't step away from the spotlight just because of scandal. He stepped away because life forced him to face what fame had been covering up for years. The pressure, the isolation, the silent unraveling. And when everything was stripped away, he finally had to choose. Keep chasing the old life or protect what was left. And that is the part most people miss. This story isn't just about a downfall. It's about what comes after. And it leads to one final question. Did Randy Travis lose everything, or did he finally escape what was destroying him? Randy Travis didn't walk away from the spotlight by choice. He was pushed there by pressure, loss, and a life moving too fast to control. The fame that once lifted him eventually exposed what he couldn't outrun. And when everything was taken away, what remained wasn't a legend. It was a man forced to survive. Maybe stepping away didn't mean losing everything. Maybe it meant saving what was left. Because sometimes, the strongest comeback is knowing when to stop. If this story changed how you see Randy Travis, leave a comment and subscribe, because some stories matter precisely because they're never simple.